Laura Fryer video. I don't know who that is. I don't know who she is. So she's like Tim Kaine.
When I started playing video games, it was a fun pastime where you connected with family and friends. Game developers were passionate. They put their heart and soul into their games because they knew if they could land a hit, they could do it again. Sometimes this is called the pinball motivation. Opinions about games were freely shared and everyone enjoyed the discussion.
Dude, to be honest, I feel like Microsoft's I like to hope that Microsoft cracked down on both 343 and the Coalition, because like 343 kind of went back to their old roots with Halo Infinite, and then the Coalition, the new Gears looks awesome. I'm really excited, and I'm not even like the biggest Gears fan. I like Gears 2 a lot, but Gears 1 I don't care about.
Discussion. After all, it's just games. Sadly, this is not the world we live in today. Gaming is surrounded by division and acrimony. Sharing your opinions about your gaming preferences has become a flashpoint. So how did we get here? How did a fun hobby get surrounded by so much anger? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. I love making games. I love game developers. I love playing games. I want the industry to thrive. And in some ways, the industry is okay. There are many games that are doing just fine. But as many of you have pointed...
Dude, fucking Marvel Rivals slaps all the clit that can be slapped. I love this game. It is the best hero shooter I've ever played.
...out, we also have a culture war raging around gaming, and it's destroying some of our favorite franchises and studios. There are several reasons we are here today, and like many things, what you'll find at the heart is a series of small steps by good people with a few bad actors mixed in. If you look back in gaming history, you will find that controversial content is not new.
Yeah, the Postal games. The Postal games were super controversial, and they're based. She has some base points, which is nice to hear from a well-known vet talking about obvious issues. I mean, that's why I like Tim Kaine.
Games have always had strong narratives. This is because games start as ideas that are eventually translated into digital form. Teams start by gathering reference material from the world around them to help define what is in their mind.
Well, some of the melee classes are okay. I had fun with Wolverine when I played Marvel Rivals Wolverine. His lunge attack's really fun to use. But my main is Punisher. I main is Punisher because Punisher's like... Punisher, Blade, Ghost Rider, and Deadpool are my favorite Marvel characters. Those are the Marvel comic books I got the most of. I also liked Cable a lot. But like, so when I got Marvel Rivals, when I saw Blade in there, or not Blade, when I saw Punisher in there, he was he was gonna be my main. He's just my favorite.
They pull from the lore of a franchise, sometimes history, current events, movies, other games. Games are creative dialogue on what has been and what might be, and reference material has a narrative. It has a perspective. It's easy to see this if you read a history book, because you will hear wildly different opinions on what happened based on where you grew up. Game developers naturally end up exploring themes and ideas based on what inspires them, and I would argue that's a good thing.
Dude, Cable is such a... my favorite X-Men would probably be... I like Wolverine a lot, obviously. Everybody fucking likes Wolverine a lot. But Cable, and then I really like Bishop, too. I've always really liked Bishop.
Developers should be exploring and innovating, but they need to understand where they are. They need to understand their risk. Because even though strong narratives in games hasn't changed, what appeals to the broadest...
How did I miss Gambit? Gambit is easily my favorite X-Men. What the fuck? I forgot Gambit. Dude, Gambit. Oh, dude, fucking Channing Tatum finally being able to play Gambit. Hey, mon ami. Hey, what you doing, mon ami? Oh, dude, I used to do that accent around my house as a kid. Yeah, Gambit's the fucking best. We all failed, dude. We all failed. I was stuck on the Cable, and I remember reading this really good comic book where Bishop was hunting down Cable, and Cable was, like, protecting this baby. It was such a good comic book run. But basically, the story was there was this baby that they had the future mutants had to go kill. Right? They were gonna go kill because it was so evil. And Cable didn't want to kill the baby because he thought if she was raised right, she wouldn't become evil. Which later, that I don't know when this is in conjunction with the movie Looper, but a lot of overlaps. But yeah, such a great comic book run. Bishop was such a good antagonist. He's also just a good hero when he needs to be. That was, as soon as I said Cable, that was in my mind. But Gambit is such a good character. What they did to him in X-Men Origins Wolverine was fucking trash. I'm so glad Channing Tatum finally got his chance to play him, and he played him so well.
Audience possible has narrowed. It's easy to alienate large groups of people if expectations aren't met, and this is what I think happened with Dragon Age. They made an expensive game that didn't appeal to a large part of their current fan base. That means they lost sales, and now they have to go out and acquire new fans if they want to make their money back, or at least make enough money so that EA lets them make another game. For me, it's been interesting to watch this change in the industry. Game publishers used to put in extra effort to avoid offending people. They wanted to make games that would appeal to the broadest possible audience. Microsoft, for example, was very risk-averse. I remember when Terminal Reality was doing the second version of their game Fury Cubed, and they wanted to call it Hellbender. Well, marketing was upset. They were worried that putting the word hell in the name of a game next to the Microsoft logo was going to damage the brand. And so that team had to go to build.
So at the same point, that I see this thing where it was like at one time they were so worried about offending people and worry, because I think this at that time period you have to remember that like this is pre-Postal, but you have to remember like Postal and a lot of these like edgier games where they would fucking they were like edgy for the time, and then they would get all this backlash from, at that time, the right wing, and the right wing was out there just saying like these games are all evil, they're gonna make your kids monsters and blah blah blah. And basically they went to an era where they were kind of risk adverse, and that is like I remember like, I don't really remember because this is before my time, and they kind of like moved away from that during the 360 era and the Xbox original era. And I think Postal and Grand Theft Auto did a lot to break that mold. But that risk-adverse thing, and that's still a problem with Microsoft to this day, kind of being risk-adverse on... and that's, I think right now the problem is they still have that risk-adverse mentality, but because of the internet and because of these things like Reddit and Twitter up until Musk took over, and YouTube, they would look at the internet and say, okay, this is what people want. These are controversial topics. Because they had these echo chambers around them. So when they released the game, they're like, well, we're just talking about things that everyone talks about. And that's just not what happened.
Bill Gates in order to get approval. I experienced this caution personally when I was producing the game Fighter Ace. I was asked to demo it at a Microsoft shareholders meeting. During rehearsal, I said that I was going to jump in the game and shoot down some people. Everyone freaked out. The executives thought that language was too edgy for Microsoft shareholders. And instead, they asked me to say I was shooting at targets. Then there was...
Bro, this is why Postal isn't on Xbox. Pussy-ass behavior, bro.
That time, we were in the final days of making Deadly Tide, and someone noticed there was a problem. You see, if you slow this down and you look closely, you'll find that New Zealand was just left off the world map. Of course, Microsoft New Zealand noticed and asked us to fix the problem. But after a lengthy discussion, the team decided to pass. They didn't think people would notice, and if they did, Microsoft could just tell them it's sunk in this fictional world. There was also that time when all the Microsoft distributors in Turkey were arrested because Encarta 95 had released with a map that included an area for Kurdistan. That one did get fixed. Of course, Microsoft was a good company. They didn't want people getting arrested, and they knew they couldn't expect game developers to be well-versed in geopolitical issues. So they started hiring. They hired a group of localizers and created an entire group to help the product teams be sensitive to those issues. You couldn't have a game developer putting the Microsoft brand at risk. After having those experiences, I'm baffled about some of the things I'm seeing today. Did any of the executives at Ubisoft question whether or not doing Assassin's Creed Shadows was a good idea?
I mean, this is a very good point, because this was super culturally insensitive to Japan. Now, I'm completely okay with doing a Yasuke story, or like I mean, that's where we got Afro Samurai, was because of the Yasuke story. I mean, it's something that is cool, but the fact that they haven't done Japan yet, and they've spent years, and everybody's saying it would be cool to have a samurai Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Tsushima comes out and they're like, what if Ubisoft did this? Wouldn't it be just as cool? This would be amazing. This would be fucking... And then they release it, and they're trying to get brownie points on the internet? This is why Ubisoft's crashing, dude. It's almost like they're wanting these games to fail, but they don't realize they want them to fail. They're more worried about their messaging than they are, and winning. They're more worried about not being inoffensive to the Twitter crowd than being actually offensive to being culturally offensive, if that makes sense.
And to Japan many times. I've worked with Namco as the producer on Revenge of Arcade, and during Xbox, I managed a team there.
Dude, it would have been so cool if Yasuke would have been like a main character that you talk to, like you when you interact with because he was a samurai. He kind of like carried the weapons and stuff for the samurai, and it would have been really cool if when you talk to the leader, the master that he not master like that, but you know, I can't remember what the shonen or whatever. You talk to the shonen that I know there's a better term. There's an actual term for it. But when you talk to him, like Yasuke goes on adventures with you, right? Yasuke goes on these things with you. That would have been cool. Introduce Yasuke, and then you have DLC potential where you could play as DLC. That would have been such a good way to do it, and nobody would have cared. People would have been like, you give players time to interact with Yasuke. You have time as a main character. They craft a really good Japanese character. And then Yasuke is this side character that you do a bunch of missions with. Make him really fucking cool. And then people will want to buy the DLC with him. Shogun. Shogun.
Love the people and the culture. And based on that experience, I would never have agreed to do this game, because even if you handled it as delicately as possible, it's easy to make a mistake. And I think they have. The game isn't even out, and it's already mired in controversy, and this isn't what you want for your game.
Yeah, dude, they could have made it successful spin-off games. Like, well, I don't understand why they didn't see... If I was working on a team like this, and somebody would have brought it up and said, we are making the first Assassin's Creed, we want to base it around Yasuke, I'd say, listen, guys, I know your intentions are good. I know that you see the world and the cultural things and all this stuff going on, and you want to elevate certain voices. I get that. I do. But this is our first game in Japan. I want to be smart about this. So I want you to take all this, any of this character ideas you have for Yasuke. I want you to put them in your back pocket. I want you to put them in your pocket. I want you to really think, okay, this is cool. We're going to graph this. We're going to really build on here. And we are going to build another character that people are going to love. People are going to, that's going to make Japan all happy. And then we are going to do a DLC or a spin-off game with Yasuke. We'll either do a DLC if he is, if people are unsure about him. They're like, Yasuke's okay. And you can get that feedback. Okay, this is the things we need to change about the character to make him more appealing, so we can really elevate his character to what we want him to be. And we can do a DLC and then test the waters again. You do a couple little tests with a character, and then boom, you can throw him out and have your spin-off game. And then there's money to be made off of that. There is no future thinking anymore. It's now, and that's the problem. It's a lot of knee-jerk reactions, and I'm some fucking idiot who's sitting back here making taint jokes, playing with his boobies all the time, and having to scratch his crotch every 5 seconds because it gets sweaty and gross because I'm a fat guy. And I'm sitting here and I'm having easier conversations with how this could have been done. It's so simple to me. It's so simple that it just could be like, this is how we do this. How do we approach this? We make a fun game. We have a character that is safer. Not 100% safe. We can do some stuff that maybe touch on some issues here and there. We put small little parts. Nothing that's gonna completely turn off an entire fan base, because and they're like, well, but what about it? It's like, no, Listen, everybody loves BioShock. BioShock has entire hardcore political messaging, but the game's priority was fun first. And then we did all the other stuff. It's so simple to me. It's so simple. There's no foresight of what's coming next. And that's the problem with the game industry now. It's like, what can we do now? What can we do now? Because we might not get another opportunity, so we need to put it in now. And because of that thought process, it's where we're at right now.
maybe it'll blow over and they'll be able to navigate this. But if not, that was a very expensive experiment. I had a similar situation when I was in the final months of shipping Crimson Skies. One of the team pitched a game that was like Sonic, but instead of a hedgehog as the main character, they wanted it to be a totem pole. A few of us playfully nicknamed him Tommy. The pitch was great. The game sounded like it would be a lot of fun, but
that kind of sounds stupid.
Said pass. You see, there is symbolic meaning behind totem poles, and even with good intentions and great care, I wasn't convinced we could navigate that complexity. Also, Xbox was just kicking off, and we had more than enough on our plate. We didn't need to take on more risk. It's
Bro,
funny.
The original Xbox was so cringe, dude. I mean, it looks based. I'm not gonna lie. This looks kind of cool. It's a giant X, but it's such a stupid idea.
Because I thought everyone was in agreement. But when I went to work on Xbox full time, I found out that the team went ahead and spent thousands of dollars to further investigate the idea and decided it was too risky. I wasn't upset about.
Wow, no shit. Like, wow, we had this really risky idea that it was probably going to turn out bad. Somebody says, this probably isn't a good idea. We'll spend thousands of dollars because I think you might be wrong. And then they find out you're right.
The differing opinions regarding direction. Good teams disagree all the time. But when the decision is made, they get back to work. And if they can't, well, they need to leave the team. We called it disagree, but commit. Of course, not everyone followed the principle, but those were the expectations. In fact, I remember when I was in the final stages of shipping Gears of War, we had one leader that didn't think the game was going to be successful, and he was going around to the team and telling them that we were doomed to fail. There were several problems with this situation. The first is that all of our data showed that Gears was definitely going to do well if we could finish the game at decent quality. Reviewers loved it, external playtesters loved it, the test team loved playing it. All signs were good. The second issue was that he was killing morale. At the end of Gears, several of the people on my team left their families and temporarily relocated to North Carolina to help the game ship. It is really difficult to be away from your family and trying to finish the game and have someone telling you that you're doomed to fail. And the last issue is...
These type of people suck. These type of people fucking suck. I'm sorry. Like, if you're going to be a little curmudgeon and be a little pussy-wussy and ruin everything, you suck. Like... She used to be really attractive. I mean, she's still very attractive now. But yeah, dude, she's got that sexy librarian thing going. She's got that what's that chick that was like from Talladega Nights? I can't remember her name, but she looks like her.
So he was showing poor leadership. When you are leaders on a team, you go to a room, you hash out your disagreements, and then you try to leave those disagreements in the room. You try to bring a united front out to the team. One day I get a call from Epic because someone on my team is actually there and crying in the hallway. And this is why, because this person is being so divisive. It turns out that he'd had a disagreement with someone on the team at Epic, and he was upset with them. He couldn't let it go. And he wanted me to remove that person from the team. Of course, there are situations where it would have made sense to have that conversation. But wounded feelings this close to ship wasn't one of those.
She could be my ex-wife. Damn, Seymour coming in hot. Seymour's laying out his pipe right now.
Also explained a hard truth that management would likely replace everybody on our team before they would replace Epic. You see, they were the creators. They were the talent. We were important, but we were there to support them. And that made us more expendable. I was trying to be honest with him and help him see the situation.
Bro, you can't tell people like this too that they're not important, because in their head they're fucking God, and they're all important. So they think they're big swinging dick. So when you tell them, hey, we're expendable, buddy, we are a support staff. We're the voice of Microsoft. That is it. These are the guys where Microsoft's put money behind them. There is a lot riding on these guys, and you're over here telling them it's gonna fail. And you're killing morale, which could hurt the shipping date, which could cost millions of dollars. You will be on the chopping block, no problem. This is something I have said to some of the employees that were worked with me. I've had points where there's been talks that they should be let go, and I said, let me talk to them. I tell them, listen, there's a good chance you're going to get let go. If you do not change these things, if you do not make these adjustments, you will get let go. Sometimes they make the adjustments, sometimes they don't, and then they either stay and they're a better employee because of that, and they do the shit they need to do, or they get let go. It's plain as simple as that.
But it didn't work. He continued with his negativity, but he just hid it better. He also added me to his list of complaints.
Bro, hey baby, you want to see my totem? She already said no to that, bro. Your pickup line's cooked. She already said no to the totem pole game.
It's kind of funny how I found out that he was still mad. I have this weird habit that drives people crazy. I tend to fidget when I'm thinking. If I have a pen in my hand, I'll click it. If I have the mouse in my hand, I'll click on the screen. I'll highlight text. I'll unhighlight it. Well, one day I was reading an email from him, clicking away, highlighting random text, and I saw that there was a paragraph of invisible text at the bottom. It was invisible because it was white text on a white background. Of course, it was mean and it hurt my feelings, but I didn't get mad at him. I empathized with him.
Dude, fucking Laura sucks, bro. He put white text, Laura sucks. What a fucking dickhead, bro. Dude was a fucking toxic piece of shit.
I know sometimes it's
Bro would have been great at Sweet Baby Inc. I'm gonna go talk to your marketing department.
really hard to control your emotions. So instead of grabbing that ball of anger and sending it right back at him, I decided to let it go. That said, I didn't drop the issue, which was his destruction of team morale. I just let my personal hurt go and instead focus my energy on supporting the team and the game. I decided to show him through my actions a better way to lead. I feel fortunate that social media wasn't a thing then. I would have been devastated if he had taken his feelings public.
Yeah, dude, this is the big problem. Like, a lot of these, like, studio people, this is what happened with the Avowed, and I think this is why she's showing with the Avowed. Because one member of the team decided to go out and cause a bunch of fucking bullshit. Tried to cause a bunch of bullshit, had a bunch of, like, do a bunch of fucking willy-nilly stuff, and then the rest of the team is held accountable for this one asshole.
Publicly, which is what appears to have happened recently at Obsidian. If you haven't heard, the art director of the game Avowed, which is set to ship early next year, decided to post some comments publicly about his game. Apparently there are pronouns in the game, and Elon Musk reacted on X saying that having pronouns in a fantasy video game is utterly unacceptable. To which the art...
Which I don't 100% agree with. I think pronouns are a canary in a coal mine where you see them and you're like, oh shit, this is going to have cringe dialogue, this is going to have all the bullshit that I've seen a million times before that I don't want to deal with. And I think that it is that, but I do not believe that it's that big of a deal. I think it should be optional. You should be able to just, like, do you want pronouns, yes or no? And then if you say yes, then you can pick your pronouns. Problem solved. It's an RPG game. You can live the game you want to live. Like, you can have the choice you want to have. Like, if it's an optional toggle and it's like, do you want this, yes or no? And you're like, no. And then it never deals with it ever again. Wow, dude. You get to live the game you want to live. It's true RPG. But my problem is the adverse reaction they had to this also makes me worried about this whole thing, because now it's like I feel like they're prioritizing the wrong things over fun and good game design.
Director responded, I wanted so badly to make him mad with my game, and I cannot believe it actually happened. Just wait until you see the default, you said little shit. I personally find this situation.
Like, this is gross. This is gross. You're purposely wanting to alienate potential buyers. Like, and I get a game being edgy and, like, not giving a fuck and, like, yeah, but you like, if the game ends up with bad sales numbers, you are now going to be the problem. And when you get let go, because, like, we've already seen Microsoft and Sony and all these companies are not afraid to just fucking clean house. They're not afraid to fire people. It is a quick call from Phil Spencer to the head of Obsidian saying, listen, your game shipped poorly. Here's some reason why. You have an employee that is messing up. You need to let them go. And you need to stop doing shit like this, because we can't bleed money because you want to play political games on Twitter. That's just business. It's business. Like, it sucks that the person could potentially lose their job. Like, I feel bad for that person, but maybe you shouldn't have said the shit you said.
Situation baffling. Does he know Elon personally? Why does he want to make Elon mad with his game? Why would you say this to someone who is easily one of the most controversial people on the planet, and therefore has millions of people reading his posts? This interaction may be the one impression that people will ever have of the game Avowed. To be clear, I'm fine if Elon ends up not buying it. That's his choice. What I'm not fine with is a leader putting his team and game at risk. And this is where social media comes in.
Yep. the whole team is now at risk, and anybody who disagrees with that person is now sitting here worrying about the like all of his design choices in the game. He's worried that people will never get to experience them because one asshole decided they wanted to be a tough man in front of Elon Musk for the internet. Who cares?
At any point, you can read something, get offended, and with one emotional outburst online, you can change your game's momentum. You can ruin years of a team's work. Of course, Avowed is likely going to be review bombed. There are plenty of people that are more than happy to join in the fight. Avowed is now mired in controversy, and when they launch, they will have to overcome this situation. And that's the tragedy, because it sounds like it might be a great game. And it's heartbreaking.
And you know what sucks is I'm really want to play Avowed. I'm still gonna play Avowed. I think Avowed has a lot of, I have a lot of faith in Avowed. I like Avowed, what Avowed's looking like, and one art designer is not gonna sway me from that. I will make my own opinions, but it's not a good look. And I'm not I'm not a great litmus test for the internet because a lot of people are more reactionary than I am. And they're going to go out and they're going to say, well, now that it has this shit, I'm done. I'm fucking done with it. This is too far. I'm fucking out. And you did that to yourself. And you have to, there's going to have to be that moment of accountability, which a lot of people aren't willing to do.
Think that it may never get a chance.
Which, again, he's still on screen. I know right here, Tim Kaine is a fucking G. Tim Kaine does a lot of videos like this, but he doesn't really talk on social issues. I love Tim Kaine's channel. I'm a fucking big Tim Kaine glazer. Great guy.
Feel sorry for the team that's working on the game because having all of this going on while you're trying to final a game, it's not fun.
So it turns out that not only will I be the one who will know as first which game wins tonight, but I actually also know which game is going to win next year, the year after, and the year after. Now, how do I know this? Well, an oracle told me. She said, change is coming.
If you're wondering,
I feel like there is some change coming in the gaming industry because you can look at what Larian did and it give you this freedom. And a lot of problems with RPGs, even with Veilguard and shit, and even with what Bethesda's doing, is they've removed freedom from the games. And that's something I give Obsidian for Outer Worlds a lot of credit for because that game had a lot of freedom and let you do whatever the fuck you wanted to, and it was something that was refreshing to me. And a lot of people shit on that game, I think unfairly, when we live in a world that holds your hand.
Why I'm optimistic? It's because I believe in people. I think that there are only a few people who are causing this divisiveness. It is not the majority. Most people want things to be better, and so they will be. And I believe we will eat that elephant together, one bite at a time.
They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow. They were driven by idealism and wanted players to have fun. And they realized that if the developers didn't have fun, nobody was going to have any fun. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned.
See, and this is a great point. If you look at all the players who might purchase your game and say there's going to be different ideas and opinions, and how are we going to broach this and still have a good balance? We want to have a balance of both hot topic. If we want to have a hot topic issue, we need to have a counter to that hot topic issue. We need to have both opinions at the forefront and let the player decide on where they want to lie. If you want to broach those issues, you put the player there, and then you say you have the team fucking have fun with it. It's so simple to me. It's so simple to me. Like I don't understand why it's so hard for a lot of developers, and I feel like there's a lot of forcing this direction by certain mind points, and there's not enough back talk in the. I think there's a fear in the industry right now that is slowly getting quelled out. That it's like, okay, well, we were scared to say anything about these guys because they could go online, say all this shit, and now it's like, listen, do we keep failing? At what point do you have to step in and say we need to make a game that people love and that we love, and not just because we want to put these opinions in the world. We need to think about everybody.
But above all, they cared about their game because they loved games. And the game of the year is Astrobot.
that was a really good video. She gets a sub from me and a like. She's gonna be up there with Tim Kaine in my mind. I really like her. I really like this. Thanks for the recommendation, guys. I really appreciated that.